1. The sky is the blue of a birthing blanket, the day newborn and filled with the light of innocence, when the air brakes of the bus whistle softly, waking him. He has arrived in Worsted, Texas, looking for trouble, on this Friday in June. The bus is bound for Houston, and this is merely a quick hop-on, hop-off stop en route. He steps into the aisle. Rather than consign it to the luggage compartment, he has kept his small white suitcase with him. Carrying the bag, he exits the bus. He is the only passenger disembarking in Worsted. Population 11,546. A young Hispanic couple wait to board. The man is thin and intense. She's pregnant, radiant. Maybe they are victims of the world, or maybe they are the parents of its savior. Life is a weave of infinite possibilities, though some are more likely than others. The treeless, dusty street is lined with 2- and 3-story buildings with flat, parapeted roofs. Constructed of local limestone or rust-colored, sand-struck bricks, many date back to the days of gunslingers and stagecoaches that were ripe for robbery. The morning is warm. Later it will be stifling. He checks his iPhone and discovers one text message. As always, it is from Ace of Diamonds, who manages his nomadic life. He doesn't know who Ace might be, whether male or female. This message is just a reminder. Alex Hercos, Blue Ribbon Motor Inn. The Blue Ribbon Inn is visible from the bus station, and he sets out for it on foot. His name isn't Hercos. He doesn't remember his name. Indeed, he doesn't remember anything of his past prior to this itinerant life he's been leading for 2 years. He knows, a better word is believes, that his amnesia is a medical matter beyond his control, but he senses that it's also somehow a choice he has made. He currently calls himself Ben Shepherd. A magazine left on the bus by a previous passenger featured an article about a police dog, a German Shepherd, that lost one leg in a violent encounter but persevered through rehab and didn't retire. The dog's name is Ben. At the Blue Ribbon Inn, no ID is required because Ace of Diamonds prepaid and made certain other arrangements with the management. Nameless has no credit cards. He rarely carries identification of any kind, not even in false names. The front desk clerk, one Roxanne Cortez, wishes him a pleasant stay and winks at him. He returns the wink. The room is large, clean, and comfortable. He doesn't wear gloves and doesn't bother to wipe down any surfaces prior to leaving, for he has no fingerprints. They were removed with the application of a series of lightly applied acids and CO2 laser treatments. This he remembers, for the memory affords him peace of mind. In the closet hang 2 pairs of jeans, 2 shirts. They are not his size, of course, much too small, but that doesn't matter. During his time in Worsted, he will wear the same sport coat, shirt, and jeans that he's wearing now. If all goes well, he will be done with the job before the day ends, and then be on his way. Except for the toothpaste and toothbrush, the toiletries in the bathroom are not suitable for him, and are merely stage dressing. In a nightstand drawer are a car key labeled with a license plate number, a smartphone with functions specific to this mission, and a radio wave jammer. He doesn't know who pays for what he needs. Now and then he is overcome by curiosity and considers seeking answers. However, he understands as if in blood and bone that he is better off not knowing, and the desire for enlightenment always passes. Because he slept little on the bus, he prepares himself for what lies ahead by taking a 3-hour nap. He always falls asleep instantly, and always wakes at the time he has predetermined. After a long shower, freshly dressed in his only clothes, he opens his small white suitcase. Among other things, it contains a zippered pouch holding $40,000 in hundreds and twenties. The bag also contains a Galco shoulder system for a pistol. The fit is tight but comfortable. The pistol is a Springfield Armory TRP Pro 45 ACP, 5-inch barrel, 7-round magazine, a sound suppressor. With the pistol holstered, he pulls on his sport coat and drops a spare magazine in one pocket, the radio wave jammer in another. He closes the suitcase and stows it in the closet. Leaving the room, he hangs the Do Not Disturb sign on the door. Parked in front of the room, a rental Ford sedan bears the same license plate number as does the key. He puts the pouch with $40,000 in the trunk in the spare tire well and locks the car. He walks to the coffee shop associated with the motel, asks for a window booth, and orders a late lunch. He has a view of the street. A few clouds have hatched in the sky. Though at ground level the day is still, a high-altitude wind harries the clouds. Flying across the faces of the buildings, the shadows resemble dragons, as if Texas has gone Tolkien. This is a world of wondrous beauty and deep mystery, of which he has considerable appreciation. And this awareness shapes him no less than life experiences shape others. Some psychologists would argue that a man stripped of his past must be an emotional cripple, because we are made of memories. However, this long-enduring world, wrapped in more mysteries than Nameless, functions superbly, and he also thrives, an enigma even to himself, but with a solemn purpose. Another text message arrived while he was showering. Now he reads it. 2 names that he already knows. 3 addresses. 2. Jennifer Demeter lives in a modest stucco house on 2 acres south of the town limits. A pair of large oaks frame the isolated residence. An old Honda is parked in a carport from which paint is peeling like sunburned skin. The wood of the porch is the weathered gray that high-end designers strive to achieve for wealthy clients, and that the poor endure because they lack money for paint. Worsted exists to serve a county of ranches and farms. Jenny works from home, the accountant for Worsted Farm Supply. He parks the Ford in the gravel driveway. Before he gets out, he lowers the windows to ventilate the vehicle in the summer heat. The porch steps are made of cinder blocks. The floorboards creak. The front door stands open behind a screen door. Flitting between the yard and trees, brown-headed cowbirds issue slurred whistles, but no sound comes from the house. He knocks loudly, waits, and knocks again. The hall lies in gloom, with a doorway to a sun-filled room at the far end. Backlit, she appears and slowly approaches, seeming to drift like a spirit reluctantly returning to this world. As she draws near, he sees that she carries a can of hornet killer. Set on stream, with a 20-foot reach, such a potent pesticide might provide a better defense than pepper spray. "Mrs. Dwayne Demeter?" he asks.
"Ever since high school," she says. "Who might you be?"
"Ben Shepherd. I was with Dwayne in Afghanistan." Whether this claim is true or not, he doesn't know. He might or might never have been in Afghanistan.
"I don't think Dwayne mentioned any Ben Shepherd."
"There's special ops and black ops. When we're on black ops, we don't talk about teammates by name while they're alive in service. Anyway, I knew Dwayne only on his last tour of duty."
"Were you with him when?"
"When it happened? Yes. It was quick. Gone in a second."
Her lips are pressed tight as she considers his words. It's what she wants to believe. She isn't the kind of woman who wants it prettified, to be told Dwayne lingered long enough to say, "Tell Jenny I love her." But she also doesn't want to be told he suffered. "You still on the team?" she asks.
"No, ma'am, I'm civilian now. As much as I can ever be."
She studies him through the screen. "Why are you here?"
Russell Soaks.
Having lowered the can of hornet killer, Jennifer Demeter raises it again. "You tell him to go to hell."
"If it comes to that, ma'am, I'll send him there."
He speaks without bravado, matter-of-factly, and she seems attuned to this nuance of tone. "You're what, the Lone Ranger?"
"No, ma'am. I don't have a horse named Silver."
"Russell Soaks is a snake."
No argument.
"Are you some kind of law?"
"No, ma'am."
"The law's useless to me."
Then it's time for a new approach to the problem.
Dubious, she studies him through the screen, which renders his face in pixels as it renders hers. "So what's in it for you?"
"It's something to do."
She regards him in silence. His stare is clear and blue. In spite of her losses, there is nothing drowned in those eyes. Her spirit is buoyant and breathing. Nameless is patient, with nowhere to be but here. Is it something Dwayne did for you, so you want to give back? Exactly. He lies, for it is an explanation that will put her mind at ease. He has allowed her to conceive it herself. She lowers the can of insecticide. Maybe I'm losing it. He doesn't press her to let him in. At this point she will distrust even the slightest encouragement. The sturdy aluminum screen door has neither a hook-and-eye latch nor a sliding bolt. She uses a key to unlock the blind deadbolt, which doesn't provide a keyway on his side of the door. She lets him in and relocks the door. I'm working in the kitchen, end of the hall. She doesn't want to turn her back on him. He leads the way to the kitchen. Lacking air conditioning, the house is a steeping pot. Serafina, 10 years old, sits at the kitchen table reading a book. She's a beautiful child with a halo of lustrous golden hair. She looks up from the novel, smiles shyly, and returns to her story. The door is opened to a screened, no doubt locked, back porch, where 12-year-old Max is ensconced in a wicker chair, also reading a book. He looks up furtively, and then at the page again. It's wrong to pen up a boy his age, says his mother, but I can't let either of them out of my sight with soaks in the world. She puts down the hornet killer. Iced tea, Mr. Shepherd? Thank you, yes. She's been peeling apples and slicing them into a large bowl of cold water. She puts the bowl in the refrigerator. She produces a pitcher of tea and pours 2 glasses and sets them on the table. He settles in a chair across from Jennifer Demeter. Serafina is to his left, seemingly lost in her book. Sweetened with peach nectar, the tea is delicious. How did you hear about Soaks and me? Jenny wonders. Better you don't know. After whatever's going to happen to Soaks happens, it's better you know less than more. She watches him drink the tea. The knuckles of her hand are sharp and white as she grips but doesn't sample her glass of tea. This feels like dreaming, she says. It isn't. He indicates the girl. Should we talk privately? They're young, but I don't keep anything from them. That's not a bad way to be. It's the only way to be in this situation. Soaks pretends to be obsessed with me, but it's not me he really wants. She's a fine-looking woman, 32, fair of face and form, with an engaging quickness of mind and fullness of heart. Nameless glances at Serafina. Jenny nods grimly. With that revelation, a vision sweeps upon him. He puts his tea down without spilling it as the future washes into the room. Pajama-clad young Max is crumpled in a corner of the kitchen, his face broken into a jigsaw puzzle by hammer blows. Jenny lies face down, the back of her skull cracked and concave, the pieces held together by a mortar of extruded brains. Serafina is not present. Russell Soaks and a curly-haired man with a port wine birthmark on his forehead enter the room with canvas tarps and duct tape. They begin to bundle the dead mother and son in sheets of black plastic. Nameless is bent forward in his chair, his head clamped in his hands, as if to press out the vision that has overwhelmed him. Jenny says, What is it? What's wrong? Nothing, just... It's hideous to think of him with her. If he tells Jenny the truth, I have this strange ability, she will want to know what he has foreseen. He won't share the vision with her, though not just because it's so terrifying. He will not share it because then she will ask if he can prevent this horror from occurring. Sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. Certain events are lightly sketched on the future and can be erased. Others are woven into the fabric of all that is to come, and resist being unraveled. He never knows whether he will be successful. His memory extends backward only 2 years, but there is much in it that he wishes he could forget. 3. A sea of emerald glass shimmers on both sides of the highway, and the sky is bigger than the land below, the few early clouds having been burned off by the sun. The emptiness appeals to Sheriff Russell Soaks. as it has since he was a child. From the vast lonely vistas, he infers that there are no boundaries, no rules, that each man and woman is a hunter who hungers to satisfy, and that the satisfaction of them is the only good for which to strive. Cruising his county in a black-and-white Suburban, Russell is in a foul mood. He has needs that are currently not being fulfilled. He lost his temper with Wendy, his most recent plaything, and by the time he worked off his anger on her, he needed to put her deep in a hole. There's not been a girl in the playpen for a month. Having grown tired of Wendy even before he killed her, he worked out a plan to get Serafina, but Jenny Demeter somehow tumbled to his true intentions. If he could have drugged the family, put Jenny and Max in their beds, replaced Serafina with an unconscious Wendy, and engineered a leak in their gas furnace, leading to an explosion and fierce fire, little but charred bones and teeth would have remained. The county operates a coroner system rather than a medical examiner system, so there's no forensic pathologist to worry about. The coroner, Cecil Blocker, owns one of the town's 2 funeral homes, and is beholden to the sheriff for a number of reasons. He would identify Wendy's remains as Serafina's on Russell's say-so and think nothing of it. But now Russell isn't welcome at the Demeter house. Wendy's in a hole too deep for coyotes to dig her out, and the sheriff has yet to devise another low-risk plan to get the exquisite Serafina. He should give up on the Demeter girl, but he is obsessed with her. Besides, he can patrol the main highways, pull over 100 cars, 200, on one pretense or another, without finding a tender creature to his liking. High standards complicate his life. His yearning for Serafina brings him past the Demeter property a few times a day. But on this occasion, he is drawn to the place by a text message received on his personal smartphone. It is sent by Deputy Harry Carlyle, and says cryptically, "Something's going down at 600 Smoke Tree Road," which is the Demeter address. When Russell arrives, he discovers an unfamiliar vehicle in the driveway. He stops on the shoulder of the county road, plucks a pair of binoculars from the passenger seat, and glasses the Ford and the house beyond it. No one is in sight. He adjusts the focus, clarifying the Ford enough to read its Mississippi license plate. He puts down the binoculars. He grabs the police band mic, contacts the dispatcher, provides the plate number, and asks for a registration check. Then he drives on before someone at the house might see him lingering. 4. Jenny escorts Nameless through the house so that he can see what she has done to make it secure. There are 3 small bedrooms, a living room, a study, and 1 bath. The carpets and furniture are old and worn, but everything is as well scrubbed as Jenny herself. Each double-hung window is latched and fitted with a battery-powered alarm. In the master bedroom, he says, "You have no air conditioning. No way to get a night draft. Used to have in-window units for the bedrooms. Took them out. A man like Soaks could get his hands on some kind of sedative gas, use air conditioners to pump it in on us. Does that sound paranoid?" "Not at all. Sounds like you've thought this through." Russell Soaks, 39, is the sheriff of Worsted County, which has no other law enforcement agency. His daddy Harlan is in his 43rd year as chairman of the County Board of Supervisors. Uncle Curtis is a respected judge, and Uncle Ned is the district attorney. In all but name, this is Soaks County. "So we sweat nights until this is over, if it's ever over." "Soon," he says. "You have something more than Hornet Killer?" "A Walther 9mm, double action, 10 rounds plus 1, keep it bedside. Or I'm in the yard, then I have it on my hip." He doesn't ask if he can use the pistol. She's clearly a woman who knows the truth of the world and takes it seriously. "Kids are homeschooled," she says. "If I have to go into town, they go with me. My friend Ainsley, she does most of our shopping." As they step into the hallway, he says, "So tell me how this started. How Soaks came into your life." She glances toward the kitchen and then goes into the living room. When she sits on an end of the sofa, he sits on the other end. "We lost Dwayne 3 years and 5 months ago. I didn't think there'd ever be another man. But even with the kids to look after, Loneliness eats at you like the dry rot. Each day you feel lighter, hollower. Then you have to accept he's not going to do a Lazarus. 5. Jenny meets Russell Soaks in a supermarket. She's in the produce section, selecting cantaloupes. He stops his cart nearby and asks, "How you know they're ripe? Half the time I cut 'em open, they're green." He's 6'2", good-looking, and in his sheriff's uniform. Jenny's late father was Air Force, and her late husband was a Navy SEAL. She associates uniforms with goodness and reliability. That morning they're talking cantaloupes, and that evening they're having dinner together at a steakhouse. He's charming and has funny stories, as do all lawmen who deal with the dregs of society. Criminals are as absurd as they are evil. But he's more interested in her life than his. He draws her out about herself, Dwayne, the kids. He almost seems to be interrogating her. But when that thought troubles her, she chastises herself for being suspicious and ungenerous. Most guys only endure stories about a date's children, but Russell Soaks actually encourages Jenny to tell them. He seems to be genuinely curious about Max and Serafina, what their interests are, how well they do in school, how they handle losing their dad. They date twice a week. He's courteous, courtly, good company. He doesn't kiss her until the 4th date, just on the cheek. He doesn't believe in casual sex, says commitment has to come first. As often as not, he wants to make their dates family affairs, including Max and Serafina. The 4 go to the movies, a spring carnival, a church picnic. He encourages the kids to call him Uncle Russ, and they're won over, having been long without a father. Jenny isn't falling in love, but she's falling in like. Then one day the previous month, May, when the kids are in school, she pays a visit to Calvin Baynard, owner of Worsted Farm Supply. She does most accounting work from home, but she and Calvin meet twice a month on various matters, usually related to taxes. Having left Calvin's office, as she's crossing the sales floor, she's approached by Sue Kern, manager of the ranch sales division. Sue pulls Jenny into an aisle of horse tack for a private chat. Sue has this cousin, Lana Varner, whose dad, Wiley, had a thing about drinking and driving until he T-boned an 18-wheeler at high speed and decapitated himself. 17 years ago, when Lana was 12 and Russell Soaks was a deputy, not yet sheriff, he made a habit of tailing Wiley, issuing written warnings for driving under the influence, escorting him home, but never arresting him. And one morning when Lana's at school, Wiley wakes up hungover and finds Deputy Soaks sitting in his bedroom watching him, eyes like a predator's assessing prey. "Sorry to intrude," Soaks says, "but I need to have your attention while you're sober." He offers Wiley a deal. If he will provide what Soaks wants, he can keep driving drunk, and Soaks will protect him. Otherwise, the next time Wiley's caught, Soaks will arrest him. Wiley will draw a gun, and Soaks will have to kill him in self-defense. "I don't have a gun," says Wiley. "You'll have one on that occasion," Soaks assures him. The alternative is that the two of them sit down with Lana, explain how it'll be for a year, with Soaks now her secret boyfriend. He likes them when they're 10, 11, 12. Thereafter he has no interest, so it won't be something she has to do forever. The Varner family isn't tightly knit. Lana's mother, Carla, walked out when the girl was 5. They haven't seen her since. Carla wanted a child. Wiley never did. He's living easy on an inheritance, just big enough that he can't drink it away, and he has no job to give him respectability. The Soaks family owns a quarter of the county. They're a law unto themselves, and as sure as birds can fly, Russell will be sheriff one day. Wiley takes the deal. Lana says no, calls her father a pig. Wiley doesn't know what to do, but Russell does. He says all the girl needs is discipline, and he applies a lot of it when Wiley goes on a week-long bender. In the horse tack aisle of Worsted Farm Supply, Sue Kern finishes telling Jenny about her cousin Lana. "Soaks never touched her after she turned 13, but she was terrified of him. When her daddy tried to drive under a Peterbilt and lost his head 6 years ago, Lana finally had some money of her own. She was 23 by then, and she moved to San Antonio." Sue is nervous talking about this. She has no proof, but she believes her cousin. I like you, Jenny. I like your kids, and Dwayne was a hero, served his country. But if you ever say I told you about Soaks, I'll deny it. There's maybe 10 places in the country where free speech still works, but this isn't one of them. After what Sue tells her, Jenny thinks back over the family dates. The way Soaks took Seraphina's hand, as a father would, on the crowded carnival grounds, but never Max's hand. How he smoothed her wind-blown hair with avuncular affection after she and Max got off the tilt-a-whirl. How Seraphina sat in his lap at the church picnic, his hand on her bare knee. Seraphina wearing shorts. What once seemed innocent now strikes Jenny as sinister seduction. She tries to ease out of their relationship. At first Russell seems to be clueless, unaware that she wants to put an end to it. He keeps trying to make dates. She explains that it isn't him. It's Dwayne still in her head and heart. Although she thought she could move on, 3.5 years later she can't. Russell acts hurt, sends dozens of roses with pleas for a second chance, says he has no illusions he could ever replace Dwayne. A week after she stops taking his phone calls, she wakes on a Saturday morning to the smell of coffee brewing, bacon frying. When she puts on a robe and goes into the kitchen, the kids are in their pajamas, eating a breakfast that Russell has cooked. He's telling jokes. The kids laugh. He sees Jenny and smiles. "You want eggs and bacon? Or I've got blueberry pancakes, keep 'em warm in the oven." His boldness chills her. A hardness in his eyes doesn't match his tone of voice or his carefree demeanor. Because she doesn't want a scene in front of the kids, she eats until Max and Seraphina are done and hurry off to their own pursuits. As Russell sits across the table from her with a cup of coffee, she pushes her plate aside. "How did you get in here? The house was locked. The kids didn't let you in." "A man with a broken heart sometimes does desperate things." "You don't have a broken heart, Russell." "I'm 100 ways sad. I want this to work." "You and me?" "Didn't I just say? Why else am I here?" She dares to say it. "Seraphina." He stares at her in silence. Then, "That's a vicious thing to accuse a man of. Who put that idea in your head?" "Nobody. I just woke up to what I've been seeing right before my eyes." They go back and forth like that for a minute or two, and then he gets up from the table, his face flushed. As he walks out, the last thing he says is, "Best keep your sick suspicions to yourself. Anything happens to you, those kids might be declared wards of the county. Then what?" 6. Nameless and Jenny are sitting on the sofa, Seraphina in the kitchen, Max on the screened and locked back porch. "That's the day I changed the locks," Jenny says. "Pulled the AC units out of the bedrooms, put alarms on the windows, practiced with the pistol, stopped going into town for anything, waiting for him to come here and try something. I can't accuse him. Who would believe me? Can't go after him. I've got no authority, no power." "I do." "You said you aren't the law." "I'm not," he says. "But I'm something. You remember 8 years ago a girl named Tammy Sugars went missing?" Jenny grimaces. "She was 10 years old. They never found her." "You mean Soaks? But didn't Tammy disappear when she was staying with her grandfather in Gastonville? That's 2 counties from ours." "Which takes suspicion away from locals here. The grandmother was shot and killed. Tammy abducted. No witnesses. About 5 years ago, a girl named Sarah Corley. Her family set out from Worsted for Alston. Police never found their car. Not a trace of any of them." "I'm going to carry the Walther indoors, too, from now on." "It's more than Tammy and the Corleys. 2 state highways and 1 interstate cross the country. Thousands of people pass through every week, many from out of state. Once in a while, people go missing. It's hard to say whether they vanished here or in another county, or even if they went missing here in Texas rather than an adjoining state. They just never show up where they were going." A siren on the county road turns both their heads toward the window. If Soaks is coming here, he won't do it with the siren cranked and the light bar flashing. But they wait anyway until the vehicle passes and the sound begins to die away. Nameless says, "During the last 17 years, while Soaks has been a deputy and then sheriff, you'd be surprised how many people disappeared after passing this way. Their bodies are sometimes found, sometimes not. Often the vehicles they were driving are used in other crimes. Say figured that when they were fixing a flat tire, some horror other than soaks came along. Maybe MS-13 thugs. Country's crawling with psychotic gangsters from Central America. But in 6 cases, whole families disappeared, their vehicles never found. 4 had a female child between the ages of 10 and 12. The other 2 families each had 2 girls that age. Although sharp morning light slices through the day beyond the windows, paling Jenny's brow and cheeks, unrelenting gloom pools in most of the humid room, socketing her eyes with shadow, so that he is aware of the skull beneath her skin. Tammy, Sarah, and 8 other girls, 10